When your world falls apart, when everything you believed in crumbles, when you're drowning in despair, most people will tell you to think positive, count your blessings, or wait for things to get better. Friedrich Nietzsche would tell you something completely different, something brutal, something that might save your life. The 19th century philosopher who challenged every comfortable belief we hold about existence and dared to question all traditional authorities had 7 pieces of advice that will either break you or forge you into something unbreakable. This isn't feel-good philosophy. This is the raw, unfiltered truth about what it takes to not just survive difficult times, but to emerge stronger than you ever thought possible. 1. Embrace your suffering. It's your greatest teacher. Here's Nietzsche's first brutal truth. Your suffering isn't a mistake. It's not something to escape from or medicate away. It's the only thing that can truly make you strong. What does not kill me makes me stronger. This isn't just a motivational quote. Nietzsche believed that suffering is the forge where greatness is made. Every comfortable person is weak. Every person who has never faced real adversity lacks the depth that comes from genuine struggle. Think about the strongest people you know. Not physically strong, mentally and emotionally resilient. I guarantee they didn't become that way through easy times. They were forged in the fire of real hardship. When you're in the depths of despair, you have 2 choices. Let it crush you, or let it reveal what you're truly made of. Most people choose the first option because it's easier. They seek comfort, distraction, anything to avoid feeling the full weight of their pain. But Nietzsche would tell you that's exactly the wrong approach. The pain is there for a reason. It's trying to teach you something crucial about yourself, about life, about what really matters. When you run from it, you miss the lesson. When you embrace it, you gain access to a strength you never knew you had. This doesn't mean wallowing in misery or becoming a victim. It means looking your suffering straight in the eye and asking, what are you here to teach me? How can I use this experience to become someone I've never been before? 2. Stop seeking external validation. Become your own authority. Nietzsche saw that most people are psychological slaves, constantly seeking approval from others, from society, from traditional institutions. When difficult times hit, they look everywhere except the one place where real power actually resides, within themselves. His brutal advice: there is no savior coming. No external force will rescue you from your circumstances. You must become the ultimate authority in your own life. This doesn't mean becoming arrogant or dismissive of others' wisdom. It means recognizing that at the end of the day, you are the one who must live with the consequences of your choices. You are the one who must face yourself in the mirror. You are the one responsible for creating meaning in your existence. You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star. Stop looking for permission to be great. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions. Stop seeking validation from people who don't even understand their own lives. The Übermensch, Nietzsche's concept of the superior human, doesn't ask, what will people think? The Übermensch creates their own values, their own meaning, their own purpose. When your world collapses, it's the perfect opportunity to stop living by other people's rules and start creating your own. 3. Amor Fati. Fall in love with your fate. This might be Nietzsche's most brutal teaching of all. You must learn to love everything that happens to you. Not just accept it, love it. Amor Fati, love of fate. This means loving the betrayal that taught you who your real friends are. Loving the failure that forced you to discover your true strength. Loving the loss that showed you what really matters. Most people spend their lives resenting their circumstances, wishing things were different, living in the past, or fantasizing about the future. They say things like, if only this hadn't happened, or my life would be perfect if only. Nietzsche says this is the path to a wasted life. This constant resistance to reality, this perpetual wish that things were different. It's psychological poison. But Amor Fati isn't about passive resignation or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about recognizing that every experience, even the most painful ones, has contributed to making you who you are. It's about understanding that your struggles have given you a depth of character that comfortable people will never possess. When you can look at your worst moments and say, I wouldn't change a thing because it made me who I am. That's when you become truly free. That's when difficult times lose their power over you. That's when you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the hero of your own story. 4. The herd mentality will destroy you. Here's where Nietzsche gets really brutal about human nature. Most people are followers. They think what everyone else thinks, fear what everyone else fears, and live mediocre lives because they're terrified of standing out. When you're going through difficult times, the crowd will give you crowd advice. Everything happens for a reason. This too shall pass. Just think positive. At least you have your health. This is spiritual poison disguised as comfort. The crowd doesn't want you to become great because your greatness reminds them of their own mediocrity. They want you to suffer quietly, accept your circumstances, and blend back into the masses where they feel safe. But here's what they don't understand. Greatness requires you to separate yourself from the pack. It requires you to think differently, act differently, and yes, sometimes suffer differently. Consider this. Every person who has ever achieved something extraordinary was told by someone that it was impossible, unrealistic, or foolish. Every breakthrough in human history came from someone who refused to accept the collective wisdom of their time. Nietzsche's advice: the higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. Stop caring about the opinions of people who have never dared to live dangerously. Their comfort zones are prisons, and they want to keep you locked in there with them. This doesn't mean becoming callous or dismissive of others. It means developing the courage to trust your own judgment, even when it conflicts with popular opinion, especially when it conflicts with popular opinion. 5. Create your own values. Become a value creator. When everything falls apart, you discover that most of what you believed was just inherited opinions, social conditioning, and other people's fears dressed up as wisdom. Nietzsche called this the revaluation of all values. Don't just recover from your difficult times. Use them to completely rebuild your value system from the ground up. What do you actually believe in? What is your definition of success? What does a meaningful life look like to you? Not to your parents, your society, or your social media feed. Most people never ask themselves these questions. They simply adopt the values they were handed as children and never examine whether those values actually serve them. They chase goals that aren't really their goals, pursue dreams that aren't really their dreams, and then wonder why success feels so empty when they achieve it. Difficult times strip away all the superficial layers and force you to confront what really matters to you. This is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because it means taking full responsibility for your life. Liberating because it means you get to consciously choose who you become. This is where most people fail. They want the benefits of personal transformation without doing the hard work of examining their core beliefs. They want to change their circumstances without changing themselves. But real change, lasting change, always starts from the inside out. Ask yourself, if you could design your life from scratch with no regard for what others might think, what would it look like? That's where your real values lie. That's where your authentic self is waiting to emerge. 6. Master yourself or be mastered by life. He who would learn to fly one day must first learn to stand and walk and run and climb and dance. One cannot fly in a flying. Difficult times reveal who has self-mastery and who is at the mercy of their emotions, circumstances, and impulses. Most people are slaves to their reactions, their moods, their fears, their addictions, their comfort zones. Nietzsche's brutal truth: if you don't master yourself, life will master you. And life is a harsh master. But what does self-mastery actually mean? It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending to be perfect. It's not about becoming a robot or eliminating all spontaneity from your life. Real self-mastery is about becoming so aware of your inner world that you can choose your response to any situation. It's about developing the ability to act from conscious choice rather than unconscious reaction. When someone insults you, do you automatically lash out, or can you pause and choose how to respond? When you face a setback, do you immediately spiral into despair, Or can you step back and look for the lesson or opportunity? When you're tempted to engage in self-destructive behavior, do you give in without thinking, or can you recognize the impulse and make a conscious choice about how to proceed? This kind of self-awareness and self-control isn't developed overnight. It's built through daily practice, through repeatedly choosing the harder path, through constantly pushing the boundaries of your comfort zone. Most people avoid this work because it's uncomfortable. They prefer to live as victims of their circumstances, their emotions, their past. But Nietzsche understood that this path leads only to mediocrity and regret. The person who achieves self-mastery becomes unshakable, not because nothing bad ever happens to them, but because they have developed the inner resources to handle whatever life throws their way. 7. The eternal recurrence. Live like every day repeats forever. Here's Nietzsche's ultimate test, and perhaps his most profound thought experiment. Imagine you had to live your exact life, with all its pain and struggles, over and over again for eternity. Every mistake, every moment of suffering, every difficult day, every triumph, every joy, repeated infinitely with no possibility of change. Would you say yes to that life? This isn't a question about religious beliefs or metaphysical speculation. It's a tool for measuring the quality of your existence. If the thought of living your life over and over again fills you with horror, then you're not living a life worth living. But if your answer is yes, if you can look at your life with all its imperfections and struggles and say, I would live this again, then you've achieved something most people never will: complete ownership of your existence. This doesn't mean your life has to be perfect. It doesn't mean you never make mistakes or never experience pain. It means that even your worst moments are part of a story you're proud to call your own. Consider what this means for how you face difficult times. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You start asking, how can I respond to this in a way that I would be proud to repeat for eternity? Instead of being a victim of your circumstances, you become the conscious author of your response to those circumstances. You realize that while you can't always control what happens to you, you can always control what you make of what happens to you. This is perhaps the most empowering shift in perspective you can make. When you truly embrace the eternal recurrence, you stop living small. You stop making excuses. You stop waiting for the perfect moment to start living fully. Because if you're going to repeat this life forever, you might as well make it a masterpiece. Nietzsche's advice isn't for everyone. It's not comfortable, it's not easy, and it definitely isn't popular. It requires you to abandon the comforting illusions that most people use to get through life. It demands that you take full responsibility for your existence, even when that feels overwhelming. But for those brave enough to apply it, it offers something that feel-good philosophy never can: genuine transformation. Not just recovery from difficult times, but a complete reimagining of what it means to be human. Most people want to return to who they were before their difficulties began. Nietzsche would tell you that's the worst possible goal. Why would you want to go back to being the person who was vulnerable to those difficulties in the first place? Instead, use your struggles as raw material for becoming someone entirely new. Someone stronger, wiser, more authentic than you ever thought possible. Someone who doesn't just survive difficult times, but transforms them into fuel for an extraordinary life. This is the path of the Übermensch, not a superhuman, but a person who has transcended the ordinary limitations that keep most people trapped in mediocrity. A person who creates their own values, defines their own success, and lives according to their own highest vision of what a human being can become. When difficult times come, and they will come, you have a choice. You can be a victim of your circumstances, or you can be the author of your comeback story. You can seek comfort, or you can seek strength. You can blend in with the crowd, or you can become something extraordinary. You can wish things were different, or you can fall in love with the reality that's making you stronger. The choice, as Nietzsche would say, is entirely yours. But choose carefully, because the person you become in your darkest moments is who you really are. And if you're going to be that person for eternity, you might as well make them someone worth being. Remember to like and subscribe if this perspective on overcoming difficult times resonated with you. And remember, your greatest life is waiting on the other side of your greatest struggles.